Resident Evil Zero was released in 2002 as an exclusive on the GameCube. Oh boy, I miss you little cube of love, you. So when I heard that there was a HD remake coming out, I had this reaction. And no, I have never played Resident Evil Zero before, which is probably why I was really excited. Because you don't play games, you get excited for the games, and your games are fun. So I was very excited. I practically grew up playing Resident Evil, and even though as a child it scared me to death, I still stuck through with it and become a fan of the series. I always enjoyed the isolation the games brought, and the terror of going up against a zombie horde with a few bullets, being trapped in confined spaces. I just loved it. But I was somewhat disappointed with Resident Evil Zero. Don't get me wrong, I liked the game. I did enjoy it. But I was somewhat disappointed? Makes sense? What do you mean they may not get it? You play as two characters, Rebecca and Billy, and both characters are almost the same, except Billy can take more hits and push certain things, and he has a lighter, whilst Rebecca can combine herbs and use a hookshot to climb to the locations Billy can't reach, because Billy's too heavy. You gotta cut back, dude. You know what the doctor said. It's nice to see tank controls again, and I have nothing against them myself. The fixed camera angles in this game did me some trouble, which of course is a problem with fixed camera angles, although it only happened a few times. But when it did happen, I was getting my ass kicked around the room like a football, and it was frustrating. These were against fast enemies usually, and since I couldn't see them, I wasn't so sure when to shoot or if they were there at all, and it would usually result in my death. Whilst it's nice to rekindle that nostalgia of the old games, it does have glaring problems that really does hamper the experience, at least for me. There's a lot of problems to list, but even though they do outweigh the good points, it isn't all that bad, although I still consider it to be a pretty weak addition to the series. I know this was probably an experiment on Capcom's part, but the whole drop in items really began to irritate me more and more as I played the game. It's handy for some instances, but for the most part it is annoying. This became a problem halfway in the game, as I had stored all my items in one spot that I knew was safe, and would be convenient to reach because I didn't want to scatter my items all over the world. I can understand an experienced player would know where to put things, but for a first-time player I don't think we're going to function as well as that. I think what adds to this problem is some items take up more than one space, and whilst this encourages better item management, it does become increasingly annoying when you do need to manage things like the hookshot, or a shotgun, of which take up 2 spaces on their own, and that isn't including their ammo. It makes me just wish item boxes were a thing. I can understand higher difficulties being more about item management, but on lower difficulties, I don't think it should be as much as an issue. Now this just might be me being really bad with item management, but when you do find a good gun, one you know you're gonna need for a boss fight, you're gonna store it somewhere, ready for that boss fight. But if you're storing it in a room and you're progressing through the game and you're getting further and further away from the gun, it becomes more of a hassle to backtrack for the gun. And since you can't carry many items, it's difficult to keep moving weapons that you need forward in case you need them. Whereas if you had an item box, you could just walk up to it and retrieve it. You wouldn't have to backtrack through half of the game. I don't think Resident Evil games work with 2 characters being controlled at the same time by one player. I often found myself playing only as Billy, and separating from Rebecca, who I used to carry things. Her AI for some reason is weaker than Billy's. She doesn't shoot as often as him, and she seems to miss more, so she just used up bullets. This added to my frustration, because this is a game that focuses on using 2 characters, and they don't function well together. Worst thing? The fucking leech zombies. I know you can kill them with fire. No, seriously, you can. They are really weak to fire. But they do appear every now and then out of nowhere, which I guess is cool, because you're never prepared to fight them, which does add to the experience. But you do begin to avoid them because you realize that they take way too long to kill, and they don't really drop anything useful once you do kill them. And it doesn't help that the areas that they appear in are usually areas you never need to go back to. And I grew bored with the bosses. I don't know what it is with me and boss design, There wasn't a single boss I enjoyed. They didn't feel all that unique or threatening. They just seemed like another big monster, and that's all they really appeared to be to me. But that's the end of all the bad stuff. There are some redeeming features. Despite my annoyance with dropping items in this game, the map does mark where you drop them, which does make it easy to locate them. And the game's puzzles make a return, which is a feature I miss in the new Resident Evil games. They are not too difficult, but they do require some thinking, which is what I enjoy. Although sometimes I did have difficulty knowing if I was stood in front of the place I needed to be in order to activate an item. And with the HD graphics, the game looks amazing. The details on Rebecca and Billy are pretty good. It's not the finest thing you'll ever see, but I like it. And there's a ton of costumes too, which are always fun to look at. And they're not a simple colour swap. Each one has a distinctive look. Plus, you got extra modes. But even though they've been shown and discussed, I won't talk too much about the newest one. But for those of you who do know about this new mode, it is quite fun. It makes the game feel broken, which I guess is the point. You're given new attacks and there is some new voice acting with this character. Another really interesting thing about this game is the amount of locations it has. You go from a train to a mansion to other locations. You don't really know what's going to appear next, so it always keeps you on edge. I don't remember the music very well. I can't remember anything that played as I traversed the hallways or stumbled across a lab or something. But perhaps the only one I can remember is the theme that plays when a leech zombie shows. If you like the tank control Resident Evil games, then maybe you'll like this one. Just don't go into it expecting to be like the others, because it plays a lot differently. It's not the greatest Resident Evil game in the world, but it isn't all that bad. I just don't think I can see myself playing the game anytime soon. If you're a fan of Resident Evil and you haven't played this, give it a try. It's not a horrible experience, but it won't be the best one you'll get. That being said, if you've only played the later Resident Evils, and by this I mean 4, 5, and 6, or you've never played one at all, I don't think you should start here. Maybe you should try Resident Evil 1 HD, as that's not only a lot better, but a good introduction to the series. This one isn't a horrible game, but it isn't perfect. Hey everybody, thanks for watching that video I just did. If you want to help out the channel, click that subscribe button up there. It does this. Oh, interesting. And maybe you might want to give me a thumbs up. That's cool. And don't forget to check out my social media, such as Twitter, Tumblr, or Facebook. I post on them sometimes, and people like it. And if you want to go the extra step, you can share this video, which will help me greatly.